All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. And today I want to walk you through as we go through a project that I've got to do. A local barbecue event that they have every year. For the past 2 years, I have made and donated the awards, I guess you could say, for the event. And this is what they look like. And these are made from some oak. I just used 3/4 inch oak. Take it on the CNC, shape it into the shape that I need, sand it, laser engrave it, and it ends up with as their award, and it also has a little bit of free advertisement on the back of it in the form of a QR code for my business. So that's what we're going to be working on today. The material that I'm going to be using is something that you guys can go out and pick up at your local Lowe's. And with this size project, whether you have a 40/40 machine or a bigger machine, you can do similar to this project using your CNC as well as your lasers in combination. And I'm going to show you how I go from CNC project over to laser and end up with these. There's some processes involved, especially when you're doing 12 of them, and I want them to be identical. So let's get started, and I'll show you the process that I go through. All right, so before we get into it too deep, guys, this is the material that I'm going to be using. This is technically a 1x8 oak from Lowe's. Like I said, Lowe's is not always the best place to source your materials, but on short notice, especially if you're getting oak in my area, I've had pretty good luck getting some decent boards there that I can use for CNCs, clean, grain, and all that, but they like them. This particular board for 8 foot was $65 each, and I bought 3 of them just to make sure I had enough to finish this job and had some extras. So it's not cheap, but it does cut and engrave really well on my machines, so I'm pleased with it. Now, before we get started, guys, the things that I'm going to show you, these are just some of the tips and things that I do. Okay, I'm not a professional, so to speak. I am not like a guru. I make things, I get paid to make things. Sometimes like this job, I donate making things, but I've tried to maximize the efficiency of those processes so that there's no delay. I don't have to do the same setup over and over again. So along the way, I'm going to show you some things about the CNC, how I do that, as well as the lasers that will assist you in maximizing the amount of money that you can make per hour by cutting out all of that setup time, using jigs and fixtures and marking your work area, that type of thing. So let's get started. Just so that you know, you don't have to have a Shapeoko 5 Pro or a Onefinity or any of those machines to do this project. This is not a video about the Shapeoko. This is a video about how I go about repeating things and bulking them out without costing myself a bunch of material from mess ups, oops, and all that. So you can do it on the Masuda 3, you can do it on the Atom Stack, the Genmitsu, you can do it on whatever machine as long as you scale this down to fit your bed. So if you were going to do them on the Masuda, you would have to chop these up. And you'd probably wind up wasting a little more material with a smaller machine because you would have to have a little material around the area where you'll see where I'm actually maximizing the material. You'd waste just a little more, but nothing too bad. These boards, 8 foot long, 1x8s, these are $65 a piece, so you don't want to go messing up too many of them. All right, guys, so secret number one or tip number one is to maintain consistency throughout the job. All right, so the way that I do that is I use these little dogs. These are 3D printed dogs, and what these do is as long as the material that you're using is the same thickness, I can go from the first sheet to the second sheet to the third sheet. I only have to zero one time, and I set my X, Y, and Z on this, and then I go forward. One thing that you will notice is I got a lot of clamps on here. Those are from lessons learned. You can never clamp too much. Now, one thing you'll also notice is I've got these little pieces of painter's tape here on my spoil board. And the way that I do that is I'll put the material up here and I'll go ahead and run, let's say, a pass or whatever. I'll put my clamps where I think they need to be. These are 3D printed clamps also. So that's one good thing is if I do nick one, it's not the end of the world. I just print more. And so I'll run the first cut over the top. If there's any issues with where my clamps are, I'll pause the machine and adjust my clamp spacing and put them where they need to be. Because with this, I'm getting use of the full 8-inch width or 7.5 or whatever it is of this material during this design. Once I've cut that first set, I'll go in and I use painter's tape and a Sharpie to mark where I need to either keep them or move my clamps to avoid the bit hitting them. Because you don't want to cut your clamps up, even though they are 3D printed, but you also don't want to cut the clamps loose from the material and cause the material to come loose. So that's a big one. And so the way I've got my dogs set up on the machine, I can lay this material on here, and if I push it to the left against this dog, and then I pull it to me here, my X, Y, and Z are already set. I don't have to go through the trouble of resetting it. So. All right, guys, so just real quick on this file. The SVG that I created to use over in VCarve came from here. This is I've got some geography files that I've kept in here under my art library. And what I do is I basically just bring that into Lightburn, and then you can save that as an SVG and bring it over into Vectric. Once it's in Vectric, I just replicated the shape, created a box that would mimic the size of the 4-foot piece of material that I get from Lowe's. You know, I get the 8-foot, cut it in half, make it into a 4-foot. And so I just set this at 4 foot. I try to get it close, but it doesn't have to be exact, because this is going to be my X, Y, and Z corner right here. So if it's an 1/8 of an inch less on this end, it's not going to matter. This little block of wood here at the end, that's the little piece of scrap that you saw me pick up off of the CNC. I'll use that for testing one of the smaller CNCs or something later. But you can see in here, I have got this thing stacked together to minimize material waste best I can, but also providing places for me to put clamps that are out of the way and won't get damaged. So there you go. But that's the file, the way that I've got it set up over in VCarve. And if you don't have VCarve, if you're looking into a software, VCarve is a really good software. It does have a bit of a learning curve, but it's worth it to me. So let's jump over back into Lightburn. And I want to just kind of show you what I did here. As you know, I use jigs a lot. And so the way that I create that jig, and each folder that I have, I create all these files and the jigs and everything, and I put them in the folder and keep them, especially for these repeat jobs like this. And so you'll notice that this is set up for a jig for that file. This is where the cut was, and that's just a little hole for me to be able to grab the design and pull it out. The way I lay these out that I'm going to use a lot, you can do variable text and put something in here if you want, if you've got a bunch of them. But for this one, there's not that many. I got 12. So what I've done is I've set a static text in the form of the logo and everything here. This is actually still text, so I can edit that like next year. It'll be 2026. So I have the static text there, and this is my placeholder. This is basically the center of where I want my text to be. So what I do when I get ready to set the next one is I'll click first place chicken, hold control, click on that little place setter right there, and I just hit the bullseye button, and it lines it up where I want the text. And all of this that you see in red is a T1, which is a tool line. So it's just used for tool placement of the text. So no matter which one of these I just click one, click that little circle right there, and then hit that. That's basically my waypoint for reference of the text. So it makes it a lot faster. So these are things that can minimize the amount of setup time you have. So I'm not having to try to figure out and square this every time and all that good stuff. I can literally just click any one of these I want to throw in here for the next burn, and then bullseye it over, and it's perfectly aligned with the text and where I want it. And yes, you'll notice that my design's a little off to the left, physically speaking, but I have found that visually it just looks better to me there than it does slid over to the right, because this part of the state's just, it's wide, and you got that one little piece sticking out right there. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but that's the way I wanted it, and that's the way I've been doing them. So let's get this show on the road, and let me show you the other setup for the QR code. All right, so for the QR code, you'll notice this is that same shape. I copied that shape from the other file, brought it over here, pasted it, and all I did was mirror it over because this is the back, so I needed my shape to be facing the other direction. I've got my QR code in here, and I'm engraving the back side, and I'm using fixtures, of course, on both machines. And if you've never used fixtures or jigs, whatever you want to call them, to hold stuff, guys, it cuts down a lot of time framing and trying to line up everything. So I strongly recommend it if you haven't done it before. And I got lots of videos, and I also just so happen to have a kit in my Etsy shop that is the kit that I used on both of these machines. It's a universal kit that works with almost any machine on the market as long as it has legs or feet. And there's several little pieces in there that you can use, angle brackets, circle brackets, you name it, to set yours up like this. It's my universal jig kit system. And I use it for the Atom Stack X40 Max, which is this machine, as well as my A70, which is the one we did the front side on. So that's it on the engraving, guys. Let's get back out. All right, so out here to my high-speed, low-drag dryer, a couple of coats of polyacrylic, and we're off to the races. And for you doubters out there that didn't think that my QR codes would work, being engraved with a 40-watt laser on wood, there you go. There's proof. I checked, quality controlled all 12 of them, and they work, especially after, this is only after 2 coats of clear. But yeah, so if you didn't think the QR codes would work, they do. That one's been a little stubborn. I'm going to come back to it. But yeah, there you go. The QR codes are awesome. It's an easy way for people to find your business. And a lot of times people just tell me that out of curiosity, they just pulled it up and scanned it just to see if it would even work. So if you had any doubts, oh, look at there. There's Biscuit passed out on the job. Again, like I said earlier in the video, whether you have a small machine like the Atom Stack CNC, you have a Fox Alien, or you have the Shapeoko, Onefinity, no matter what machine you have, jobs like this are really nice to have when you're doing multiples of the same thing. By doing 12 of these, that cut my design time down because which I'm using a file from last year, so that really cut my design time down. But you take that file, set everything up, and you maximize your time and efficiency by not having to redo those setups every time. But you're also able to minimize material loss, whether it be through improper placement, not being able to get the material lined up correctly. No matter what it is, wasted material is always a bad thing. So you want to try to minimize the amount of waste. And with the way I've got this set up, it's very little. And even the pieces that are waste, most of it is actually still reusable when I'm testing other machines or just making little small things. So, especially with the lasers too, guys, I know there's a lot of lasers on the market, and I have a lot of Atom Stack machines in my shop. I like them because, to me, Atom Stack's machines, the old open gantry style machines that everybody hates on, I love those things. It gives me the liberty of being able to set my enclosures up the way I want them, put my jigs in there, put my cameras in there, have everything set up the way that I want it. So I actually prefer those in some situations. Not all, but for me, for what I do and the way that I use the machines, it's a really good fit for me. I do have the 120 watt Glacier in the shop now. My biggest thing with that machine is the work size of it. It's not really where I want it, But who knows? There may be some modifications made to it, and it may be over in my EnclosureZilla before you know it. But there you go, guys. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful, please be sure to drop a like down below. And if you hadn't already, go subscribe. I didn't want to do a how-to as far as setting up tool paths and stuff on this video, but I just want to give you an idea of what is possible. Even with the smaller hobby machines, you can do this. Maximize your time by, while this machine's doing this, you're doing something, blah, blah, blah. And it makes for a very profitable little side hustle or small business. In like my case, I'll be full-time here in a few days. So there you go. Until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.